Greetings and God's peace be with you. My name is Kristofer Lindh-Payne and I'm one of the co-rectors at St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center. Earlier this week I had the chance to preach at St. Francis and I spoke about two of the passages that converged in our lectionary readings for that Sunday, the prophet Isaiah and Luke's Gospel. I was pondering Jesus's declaration to one of the leaders of the synagogue that they were a hypocrite. And I was also looking at Isaiah and how the prophet was challenging the people of God then and now still to refrain from pointing the finger and blaming and judging and speaking evil against one another. And among other things in the sermon, I invite you to listen if you've not had a chance to. But I was just thinking about an experience that I had recently, and I wanted to share that with you all as we move into this week together and reflect. I was out for a walk in the woods recently, and it was on a day that had been particularly buggy, lots of gnats, and while we were walking along, making pretty good time, I had a gnat fly right into my eye. And you know, gnats are so little, but it just it went right in it, and it hurt pretty bad. And I tried for a while to get it out, but we needed to keep moving. And you know, the eye and the body in general is a pretty amazing and miraculous work of creation in terms of the things that it does naturally to heal and take care of whether it be a virus or a wound or a foreign object. But here in this case, I was trying to blink and allowing all the fluids to build up in my eye to hopefully wash it out. But you know, if you rub it too much, which is the inclination when you've got something in your eye, you can actually scratch it, even with the smallest thing, the smallest speck of dust or gnat in this case. So I was careful to do it, and my eye was just irritated, and I couldn't get it out, or at least it didn't seem like I did. And after a while, I couldn't see it anymore after I'd gotten home from the walk, and it seemed like maybe I'd hurt my eye a little bit. And I put some eye drops in to help increase the fluidity of it, and hopefully just prompt it to get less irritated. And day went on, evening passed, still wasn't feeling good, and I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning, and in the corner of my eye, and this is a little bit gross now, in the corner of my eye there was a black dot, and the black dot was the gnat that had finally come out after a night of sleeping. But it was caked in all sorts of gook from my eye. I need to go outside, Forrest. Caked in all sorts of stuff from my eye, and it kind of built around it. And it got me thinking about irritants and these foreign objects that can get, but just the buildup of it. And it was both gross and it was also kind of amazing too, just to pull it out and see the black speck of the gnat that was there. And the removal of it, my eye felt so much better the next day. It was just miraculous and healed. And I give thanks to God for the gift of our eyelashes and the fluids that wash it out, and the restoration of sleep. But it got me thinking about a number of different things. There's a passage in both Matthew's Gospel and Luke's Gospel that I want to share with you. I'm not going to share it from both, but just from Luke, because they're pretty similar. In Luke, because we're reading Luke on Sundays together, Jesus said, "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back." Jesus also told them a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above the teacher, but every disciple who is fully qualified will be like the teacher. This is where I want you really to pay attention. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, friend, let me take out the speck in your eye, when you yourself do not see the log in your own eye? You hypocrite, Jesus says, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. As you heard me do and say in the sermon on Sunday, this language of Jesus calling out the people around him, whether they be religious leaders, the disciples, just passers-by, this language of hypocrite is harsh, it's hard, but it works to get our attention. At least it's working to get my attention this day. And I think about all the ways that I judge. I think about the ways that I condemn and that I withhold forgiveness. And I think about the call that Jesus has to pay attention to what is within us, what is blocking our own vision, what is obstructing our view, and how perhaps in the irritation that we're feeling within ourselves, we complicate the lives of others. We can say and do hurtful things, or just not see what's right there. This gnat that worked its way, thanks be to God, out of my eye, but was encased with this. If I had just let that stay there, I wonder how long it would have stayed and what kind of matter would have built around it. I know, super gross, but each of us fall short. It's just part of being a human being. You know that, I know that. When we're honest with ourselves and one another, and particularly with God about that, we ask for forgiveness. We can be free to live in a more full and abundant way. But oftentimes we hold tight to those judgments, and they prevent us from really being in the deeper relationships that we're called to. I think this is what Jesus means when he calls them and calls us hypocrites, and challenges us to take first the log out of our own eye. Now, hopefully we don't have whole logs in our eye, but maybe it's a gnat, maybe it's a speck of dust. Whatever it is you find that's obstructing your view, I invite you to ponder that, to look closely, to use the resources around you to clear out whatever it is that is that's preventing you from seeing clearly, from living fully. When we judge others, it often comes from a place of judgment within ourselves, the ways that we are harsh with ourselves. And when we can forgive ourselves or be gentle with ourselves, it frees us to do the same with others. Life in community, life as part of a parish and community center here at St. Francis gives us many opportunities to practice that, to follow Jesus, and to remember that when we walk in love as Christ loved us, we are not only being changed ourselves, but the world is being changed through us. Jesus is using us, God is using us to bring healing and reconciliation to the world. Love one another, not as simple as a thing to do as we'd like it to be, but it is the task before us. So, thanks for listening, and until next time,